Fibrosis, a common pathway to organ injury and failure. Definition: fibrosis is the formation of excess fibrous connective tissue in an organ or tissue in a reparative or reactive process. There are few effective therapies that target fibrogenesis specifically, despite understanding many of the cellular and molecular processes underlying fibrosis. Contrary to the widely held perception that scar tissue is permanent, it is not irreversible scar, but an actively remodeled tissue component that can regress. Pros: adaptive features in the short term. Cons: parenchymal scarring, cellular dysfunction, organ failure. In Ecuador, there are 3 institutions that help people with cystic fibrosis. Conclusion: tissue fibrosis is remarkably plastic. There is a great deal of interest in identifying means of slowing, arresting, or even reversing the progression of tissue fibrogenesis. Videos: tissue repair, regeneration, healing, and fibrosis.
In this video, we're going to discuss tissue repair. We're going to start the topic of tissue repair. It's a very long, lengthy process, so we're going to start this video by talking about regeneration, healing, and fibrosis. So, let's say you have a liver here. That's supposed to be a liver. And there are cells made up, they're liver cells, the hepatocytes, that make up this liver. And it goes on and on and on and on. And let's say for some reason there's some kind of problem where these cells are deleted. And now there's only this part. Well, this part right here, let's say chronic inflammation happens, acute inflammation happens, ischemia happens, some toxic drugs get in your liver and start eating away, this liver necrosis happens. Well, this liver's missing a part of itself. So what will happen is that those cells, these cells right here, are going to notice that they're at the end now, and they're going to be like, this ain't right. So they're going to initiate a cascade of tissue repair. And, these cells are going to try to repair themselves. So if these cells can divide and repair themselves, then they will they'll go through the cell process of division, and they'll divide, and they'll try to regrow the architecture of this organ. Same thing in all parts of our body. After there's some damage, if the cells can divide, they'll try to rebuild that architecture, and they'll undergo regeneration. There's a
What is liver fibrosis?
Liver fibrosis is scar tissue in the liver, and this typically happens after you have been affected by a liver condition that lasts for many years or decades. Progressive fibrosis can lead to cirrhosis of the liver, which put people at risk to develop liver cancer or require a liver transplantation because the liver is no longer functioning well. The risk.
Cystic fibrosis, pulmonary disease.
Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease that alters the body's respiratory, digestive, and reproductive systems. It affects the body's epithelial cells that comprise the lining of the lungs, pancreas, liver, sweat glands, digestive tract, and reproductive system. Normally, the epithelial cells release a slippery layer of mucus, captures dust and germs, and acts as a lubricant. A person with cystic fibrosis inherited a gene that causes the epithelial cells to produce a defective protein. That protein leads to the formation of thick, sticky mucus, which causes many serious problems. The sticky mucus can clog the bronchial tubes, interfere with breathing, causing coughing and wheezing, cause fatigue, interfere with digestion and absorption of nutrients, which can limit growth and weight gain and cause chronic diarrhea.
Lungs in motion, pulmonary fibrosis. Living with cystic fibrosis, Lauren's story.
Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease that you're born with, and it affects your lungs and your digestive system. Every form of it is kind of different for everybody. The logistics are the same. Sticky mucus forms in your lungs, and it contracts your airways from breathing. So I take a lot of medication to make sure that I thin out my mucus to help me breathe better. I was diagnosed when I was 2, so I was a baby, but you're born with it, so the first 2 years of my life they didn't know what was wrong with me. On my 2nd birthday, my mom found out that I had cystic fibrosis, and she immediately started talking to people, other parents, got involved, and tried to figure out how the best way to handle this for the rest of my life. It is my life. For so long I didn't think it was. I lived a normal life. I played sports, I went to school, I had tons of friends, and I lived life like I didn't have cystic fibrosis. It wasn't until I was older when it really became real that I do have this. But I think the reason I lived such a healthy life is because I lived life like it was. I didn't focus on the fact of being different or anything like that.